This module is intended for patients who are dealing with Chiari issues on a chronic, long-term basis, and will focus specifically on how to fight back and conquer Chiari. By far, the single most important action you can take is to move past anger to acceptance. Anger is a very powerful emotion, and when confronted with what seems like a gross injustice, a very understandable one. While anger is a very natural and probably necessary part of coping with the shock of dealing with a disease like Chiari, it should also be a temporary one. Many people are familiar with the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Interestingly, the 5 stages of grief were originally the 5 stages of receiving catastrophic news. One would have to consider being diagnosed with Chiari as catastrophic news, so the 5-stage model applies here as well. It is important not to get caught up in the details and order of the stages. Human emotions don't always fit easily into well-defined categories. However, it is also important to note that anger is a transitional phase and not the end goal. Someone who works through their emotions in a healthy way will in the end reach some level of acceptance. Unfortunately, far too often people get stuck in anger. The power of anger becomes all-consuming, and they are never able to accept the situation and take positive steps to improve their health and lives. This is a terrible situation, with patients feeling they have been hurt and treated unfairly by life. While in one sense this is true, it is also counterproductive to dwell on it. As patients, at some point we must accept the situation and move on with our lives. After a normal period of adjustment, we must let go of the anger, recognize that our lives have changed, and move forward as best we know how. Research supports the idea that acceptance is critical in dealing with a chronic disease or disability. Multiple studies have shown that whether someone with a chronic disease or disability has accepted their situation has a strong influence on both their quality of life and overall health in general. Letting go of the anger and accepting the situation at hand is the first step in dealing with and overcoming Chiari on a long-term basis. Once you have accepted the situation, it is much easier to take positive, productive steps towards building a good quality of life. One of the most important steps you can take is to prioritize what is important in your life. If you have real limitations, whether they involve pain, mobility, or something else, they will have an impact on your life. The key is to manage their impact and maximize your capabilities and resources. To do this, you need to decide what is important in life and focus on that. Chiari strikes many people at a time in their life where they are extremely active and involved in building careers, starting families, and other activities. It can be difficult for someone who is used to being able to accomplish many things to really slow down, look at their life, and decide what is important. But the payoff is worth it. Focusing on fewer things and being able to do them well will lead to a better quality of life than falling short by trying to do too much. What is important to you? Just because some dreams may no longer be possible doesn't mean you can't have new dreams, hopes, and aspirations. It just takes the mental effort and discipline to decide what to focus on, and the creativity and willpower to make it happen. It may involve sacrifice. It will involve hard work, but nothing good is easy, and with some focus and effort, you can find a new path. Once priorities are established, it is important to be smart and creative, both in pursuing those priorities and in the mundane activities of everyday life. Many Chiari patients have limited physical resources, but by being smart and creative, these resources can go a long way. It's important to not hold on to the old ways of doing things if they aren't working for you. Don't waste time and energy bemoaning what you can't do. Instead, use your mind to compensate for what your body is not able to do. Be creative in how you approach your daily life, and find ways to modify your activities to fit your situation. Just because you can't do something the way you used to doesn't mean you can't find a new approach or a whole new solution altogether. In other words, maximize your brain and minimize the pain. Be relentless in finding ways to ease the burden of Chiari. Use technology to your advantage. New apps are coming out all the time, which can make life easier and help people with physical limitations engage in meaningful work and fulfilling hobbies. Instead of saying, "I can't do this, I can't do that," think, "How can I do this? How can I do that?" The benefits of this approach are tremendous. Not only will you get more done day in and day out, which is good for mental attitude, but by reworking taxing activities, more energy will be left to focus beyond the basics of daily living. Another way to minimize the pain is to focus on getting physically stronger. Patients may be weak and out of shape due to their symptoms. Because of this, it is important to work at getting stronger day after day and year after year. Try to do something physical each day, even if it's just a short walk, and then slowly build from there. Once you've done an activity for a few weeks, try going further, or faster, or adding something new so that your body has to work harder. Continue to build up slowly and change things on a regular basis. Once you become used to a certain level of physical activity, you will likely find that you can begin to do things that you thought you weren't going to be able to do again, and your quality of life will improve dramatically. It's important to find what works for you, whether it's swimming, yoga, cycling, or weights. Keep trying things until you find something you can do with no or minimal pain. Research has clearly demonstrated that the neck muscles and shoulders are affected in Chiari patients. Consider finding a physical therapist or trainer to work with who is willing to learn about Chiari and devise a program specifically for you. If your neck muscles go into spasm easily, consider exercises that are in a heated environment that will help keep them loose. When nerves are damaged, it can take a very long time to recover. Don't get discouraged if progress is slow at first. The keys are consistency and patience. Even a modest amount of physical activity can have a very positive effect over time if done on a regular basis. It is also important to live a healthy lifestyle overall. Chronic disease and pain take a high toll on the body and often lead to other health problems. Therefore, it is critical to minimize this impact. First, this means giving up, or at least minimizing, alcohol and nicotine usage. Consider that both alcohol and nicotine have a direct effect not only on the neurotransmitters in the brain, but on blood flow as well. The natural flow of spinal fluid is directly influenced by blood flow, so it is natural to think that ingesting something that affects blood flow may also affect the flow of spinal fluid. For similar reasons, it is important to achieve and maintain a good weight. Beyond the general health benefits, excess weight is linked to higher levels of inflammation and may elevate the spinal fluid pressure in the brain. The best way to maintain a good weight is to eat a healthy, balanced diet and get plenty of exercise. While this is easier said than done, if you want to conquer Chiari, you have to develop the discipline to eat well and exercise. An often overlooked aspect of a healthy lifestyle is getting plenty of rest. Adequate sleep needs to be a priority. Keep in mind that Chiari patients often suffer from sleep apnea, so consider getting a sleep study to see if you need treatment. Beyond that, make sure you are practicing good sleep habits and set aside the time your body needs to recover each night. A healthy lifestyle also means engaging in meaningful social interactions and activities. Research has consistently shown the benefits of social engagement. This can be particularly challenging for people with Chiari, and there is a natural tendency to socially isolate. It is important to fight this urge and plan activities that you can participate in without too much pain. The next step in conquering Chiari is to realize that you are more than your disease and act accordingly. Dr. Carol Greco, a psychologist who specializes in helping chronic disease and pain patients, says, "Probably the most important thing for people to keep in mind is that they are more than their disease, and realize that there is always more that is right with them than wrong with them. Just because you have Chiari doesn't mean you can't live a purpose-driven life, have dreams, and pursue goals. In fact, you will likely find that as you begin to look beyond Chiari, you will begin to feel better. Focusing your mind on achieving something means that your mind will not be focused on the pain you are in or thinking about how life used to be. Realistically, some dreams you had may no longer be possible, but the human imagination has a near limitless capacity to conceive of what might be. Use your imagination and stretch your mind to think about what you want to accomplish. The importance of this step cannot be overstated. It is essentially the difference between trying to make it through the day and living life. We are all more than our disease. We just need to prove it to ourselves by not letting Chiari control our lives. In the end, conquering Chiari is more mental than it is physical. It's about discipline, mental toughness, inner strength, willpower, and making the decision that you are not going to be controlled by the disease. It's about saying that no matter how many times you get knocked down, you are going to pick yourself back up and keep trying. It's about never giving up, never giving in, and not surrendering to despair. It's about being more than a disease. Once you have made that decision at a deep level, you have already won. It doesn't matter what you can or can't do physically. It doesn't matter how much pain you're in or how Chiari has affected your life. If you've made the decision not to let Chiari control you, then it won't. Face it head-on and believe in yourself. And most of all, never give up and never give in.